are back, the final 10 minutes of the chair on Thursday night, here with our very special guest, Mr. Stuart Young, and it's over to the panel for the final few questions.
Hi.
International Movement for Change. My question is, are you concerned, considering that you're the first person from your family to get involved in the political arena, are you concerned about your family being exposed? Because we understand that once you get involved in the political arena, then the opposition or the media would eventually dig into your life to find stuff to expose you. So
there is always a concern about stepping out of a private life into public life. I can tell you personally, my life has completely changed. I am doing as much as I can to protect my young children. But the point is that another thing I'm trying to do personally is change the types of conversation. Someone was just asking me during the break why I don't attack individuals on the other side. I am not going to engage in that. You would never hear Stuart Young engage in the mudslinging, the personalization, the attack on individuals. Because it's time that we change the conversation. Let's talk about policy. Let's talk about issues. Let's talk about things that are really affecting people's lives as opposed to the individual and what they choose to do in their private time, etc.
Okay, one other question. Considering that you were involved in dealing with a lot of high-profile cases, were you involved with the Call the Heart case?
With the?
Call the Heart case. Yes. Can you please tell us what was the conclusion of that case, if it was concluded at all?
In law, there's something called sub judice, which means that when a case is active and alive before the courts, you should not comment on it in a way that's going to affect it. That case is still active and live. One of the high-profile cases that ended recently was the UTT case. I was involved in that for the former directors. It was shown to be a complete witch hunt. It was shown to... We ended the case in 2 days of cross-examination without even having to put our witnesses in the box. I think that says a lot, and I really don't want to get into much more of that. I'm a former attorney, according to
All right, sir. Good night again. Absent, yes, sir. Absent from the PNM's manifesto, 2015 manifesto, is any mention of constitutional reform. So I had to ask, what is the PNM's position, as far as you understand it, with regard to electoral campaign and campaign finance reform, direct elections of our heads of government, and I really want to get back to the proportional representation, because I feel like you've misrepresented it, but if you could answer the other two primarily.
Absolutely. The manifesto, and no manifesto, is going to be able to address every single issue. I could sit down here and call 20 different issues that maybe, because understand is limited and is a summary of various policy that you think is important be discussed. With respect to the the campaign finance reform, we are on record, and I think it is actually contained in the manifesto, because I just spoke about it, as saying that before the next general election, we are going to introduce legislation to deal with it. We are the only political party in Trinidad and Tobago that has participated actively in the OAS process and discussions with respect to campaign reform financing. We have always, starting with Dr. Rowley and then other officers of the party, sent representatives to participate in those discussions, the outcome of which is a draft piece of legislation that is going to form the basis, the foundation of the legislation we intend to bring. I participated in the Senate in the debates in campaign reform financing, and we are now on record as saying before the next general election, because we will finally be in government, we intend to bring legislation. When I was debating the I have not been a participant in that particular level of legislation. I've looked at other areas.
All right. Good night, Matthew, again from UNC, UTAM. Two questions. You mentioned earlier that you all, with Dr. Rowley, have the best and stuff, right? Brings a good front to the table, right? However, most of the times in opposition, you all never supported or certain things that the government would have brought forward on record, like procurement legislation and a few other legislations, if there's a good legislation, why not support it? And secondly, for decentralization, for the last how much years that the PNM would have been in government, how come, I glimpsed something in the manifesto, I didn't read it properly. I saw that you all have a plan for decentralization. You could explain that?
Okay, let me answer the first question. You're actually, unfortunately, 100% incorrect. We have supported 96% of the legislation brought by this government during the last term. 96%. I participated in the Senate debate on the procurement legislation and was actually the front page of the newspapers when we in the PNM Senate actually supported the legislation after 2 solid days of debate on it, of over 14 hours a day. I was there and we did support it. I am on record, on the Hansard, in all of my debates when I think it is good legislation that is going to promote a better Trinidad and Tobago, starting my debate contribution by saying exactly that. And that has been the PNM's contribution over the last 5-year period. With respect to the decentralization, is it local government reform you're talking about? When you say I didn't quite understand what you meant by the decentralization.
Decentralization, like this, the present partnership government, in terms of government services and essential services and other stuff, they would bring the services to the local areas beside local government.
Okay, so it is the local government reform, and that we're moving it away from a central ministry controlling and letting the municipal corporations.
My question was why not 10 years ago? Why now?
You know, Matthew, when I am asked certain questions like that throughout, and it's on a various number of topics, the answer is I can't change the past. Nobody in this room could change the past. So let's focus now on the present and going forward in the future, because that's what I personally could influence. And the leader has decided that is something that is high on his agenda, and we, the other candidates, and we, the PNM, support that decision. So that's what we're moving
Mr.
forward.
Young, just quickly, Ronald Williams, we had the unfortunate incident yesterday with the Hearty Foods supermarket burning down.
Right.
From a legal perspective, the Prime Minister had indicated that she wanted to give $5,000 to the 200 workers. All right. From a legal point of view, what are your comments on that?
From a legal point of view, you see, this is why I talk about the lame duck period, right? Because these are really things that should be brought before the Parliament, should be subject to parliamentary control, supervision, sanction, etc., as opposed to one person waking up and just spending the taxpayers' money that we all contribute towards. And that is why we're big on consultation, etc.
Yeah, because it was very ad hoc, you know, that's at the spur of the moment, you know, and there were the other these other
well, you had
branches,
MDC, etc., burned down, and we've had other incidents, and there was no decision by the government or by the cabinet to go and give money to.
Because
so
even
on
work today, we said let's burn down the store.
Well, I certainly don't think that's a conversation anybody should be having.
All right.
Mr. Young again. Really quickly, in 2011, Kamala Prasad-Visasa, in her capacity as Prime Minister, awarded every attorney at law in her cabinet silk, senior counsel. It was an interesting discussion at the time. When in government, should the PNM go into government, what is the method that they would use to reinvest faith in the legal fraternity, because of that move over the past 4 years, in particular last 3 years, the society has lost confidence in the legal fraternity?
I don't think it was singly that, and as you made that point, I remember Prakash Ramadar. Prakash did not get silk, he was in the cabinet at the time. Right. And certainly, as it currently stands, the law of Trinidad and Tobago, the award of silk is in the discretion ultimately of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. There have been proposals put forward by the Law Association, the Law Reform Committee, to move towards a more formal and meritorious type of award of silk. That's something that I certainly think demands some more looking at and should be introduced. Ultimately, that's up to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. But certainly, I think in the appointments made under the last PNM government, I did not hear any challenge to the names that were appointed, the way we've seen on the last occasion of self-inflicted silk.
But how is a PNM government intending on reinforcing the faith in the legal fraternity?
You know, just by doing things right, and whoever is
getting right,
correct,
the ILB slogan.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Unfortunately, we are at this point in time out of time for this evening's program, and indeed, it's one of those rare moments when we had a genuine conversation, an exchange of ideas, thoughts, and I want to really thank Mr. Young for taking time out of his very, very hectic schedule to, of course, give us a moment here at the chair on Synergy TV. In summary, the whole creation of this program was meant to be an opportunity for that kind of conversation to take place with candidates or people who've been in government, like yourself, former senator, standing attorney, and people who have questions, real questions about what happens with government, how things run, and what is the thinking behind certain moves that are being made. So it gives us a real insight as we get very close to September 7th, that decision-making period, helping some of the young minds in Trinidad and Tobago to really decide with a clear and fresh approach to the understanding of the electoral process. So
I want the opportunity for some closing words. I'm going to butt in here.
Okay.
This has been a very, very positive experience for me. This is actually something I have been begging for. I would like to congratulate each and every one of you all sitting there for taking the time out and doing this positive thing. You all are to be applauded for it. Keep it up. And secondly, and in conclusion, never underestimate the power of your franchise. Never underestimate the power of your index finger and going to the poll and making a decision on the 7th of September. Every single one of you all and every single youth and every single participant, everybody who can vote on September 7th, I implore on you to please go out there to the polls and do your thing, right? Go and put your finger where you want it. I'm not saying where to put it. You make up your decisions, and these types of environments are a good way for people to make their minds up. So keep up the good work. Well done.
Thank you very much. And with that, we pull the curtains down on another edition of The Chair. Join us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. where we'll have yet another guest sitting in the chair with more questions from our panel. This is STV Real TV. My name is Brian Haynes. Have yourself a good evening, Trinidad and Tobago.
Why my people suffer so bad? Oh, is it that should really be sad? Is it a misplaced melancholy? Why? Well, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? My people may talk. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? My God. Rise up, falling sufferers. Rise and take your stance again. He who fights and run away will live to fight another day. It's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? You people may talk. It's politics time again now. Are you gonna vote now? Deal with love and not war. It's the right and it's the duty of a citizen to vote. I upon them constitution long time it did a joke. Fed up of promises and hopeless hope. Ballot box must be empty. Vote house closed. No one arm, no one choose the color of them clothes now. But some just plain greedy. No matter how we teach, they'll forget easier. Look, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote now? Deal with love and not war. We all shall vote, yeah. If it's Rasta, then talking. Look here, bloodshed from Rima. Down in the valley, got me here, yeah. Question has become a gunman compound. No place for people with citizenship, Lord. Them crying relentlessly, yeah. People moving